Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Orange Visuals podcast. And today we have a very special guest, Rob Riddle, the principal of Thomas Riddle Real Estate Group. Rob, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And I wanted to thank you, especially because you're a really busy guy, really successful realtor who has now a top three team in Central Ohio. And we kind of want to use this episode, kind of gain your insights, learn a little bit more of your story and how you were able to get yourself in this position.
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited.
So, tell me a little bit about your background. You started off University of Kentucky. You went from fashion. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Albany. New Albany's a big fashion town. So, like any good kid from New Albany, I thought I would go work in corporate retail. I went to school at University of Kentucky and got degree in merchandising and finance. Um, and from there, I did go to work in corporate retail.
How did that, when you grew up, did you have any desire to get into real estate at all? Or was it just mostly like fashion?
Um, I don't think I ever had a passion for fashion merchandising. Um, my passion probably always did lie in real estate. It's just when you follow the conventional path of graduating from high school, going to college, the next step sounds like a steady job with a retirement plan and health benefits. So that was kind of where that way of thinking led me was, okay, time to go get a job in a big company and get my little cubicle and hope to work up to a corner office one day. And yeah, I grew up in New Albany and I saw
Mhm,
several friends, parents who had been quite successful in retail. So I felt that there was kind of a path there.
mhm.
Yeah.
Was that what your parents did? Or was
No, my dad's an engineer and my mom's a CPA. So it, honestly, the time that I was graduating college was right as, uh, the economy was coming off of, the housing bubble burst, and I had friends that were graduating top of their class, these really bright people, and they were getting jobs at Enterprise washing cars and stuff. I mean, it was the job market was, pretty rough at that time for someone with, like, a general business degree, so I, felt pretty strongly that I could get a job in corporate retail just because that's who I knew, right? I
Mhm.
had a lot of friends whose parents were executives at different retailers, and I thought, maybe I should turn my focus to where I think I can actually land a job,
Yeah. Wait,
perhaps over my passion.
when did you realize, like, that wasn't for you? Because you worked at Express, you worked at a Victoria's Secret,
Yeah,
like, when was it like, "Nah."
pretty quick. Yeah, I think it it didn't take me long to, um, kind of come to come around to the idea that this may not be my long-term play. So I decided I was gonna get my real estate license maybe a year after starting my corporate job.
Mhm.
My thinking was that it would be for my own personal use. I thought I've always been very handy. Again, son of an engineer. Uh, I always was working with my hands. I mean, I was a Lego kid, and Legos turn into small woodworking projects, turn into larger projects. Uh, when I was in college, I worked in a car garage. I just always liked doing that sort of work. Um, and as a result, I'd worked for several people who owned rentals, friends of my parents that had rentals. And so I would go do everything from paint a house to, mow and weed whack and just do whatever. And I thought, I could probably do this rental thing. And maybe if I start young enough, I can begin building a portfolio of rentals. And by the time I'm 40 or 50, I may have the financial wherewithal to step away from this job that I don't really love
Yeah.
and just kind of do that full time. So that's what I thought my path may look like when I got into real estate.
When did you realize, like, this is my thing?
Yeah, so this is crazy. Um, I I so I got my real estate license. I'd been living at home, saving money to buy my first investment property, and my dad accepted a job out of state. So now I kind of shifted my focus to finding a home for me to live in. And uh, along the way, I've got to give credit to a lender who helped me find this grant. Her name is Rachel May. Uh,
Mhm.
and I got referred to her. She um introduced me to a first-time home buyers grant. This exists in Ohio, and it is still in place and largely underutilized. But basically, the state of Ohio will give you the down payment.
Oh,
It's not a loan, no expectation of repayment. They will gift it to you if you purchase a home here within 2 years of graduating college.
oh wow, that
And everybody's got the same reaction. They're like, "Wait, really? I've never heard of that."
yeah.
So, I utilized that grant, and I bought a four-bedroom house and started renting rooms out to my friends, uh, and then my other friends were like, "How did you get a house? Like, we think we have pretty similar entry-level jobs. Why am I living in an apartment and you're living in a house? Tell me
Mhm.
more." So, I ended up selling, like, 15 of my friends from high school houses in the span of, like, 3 or 4 months.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
crazy. I made, like, my year's salary in, like, 3 months. It was
Yeah.
nuts. And so, gosh, I was like, "Boy, maybe I should do this full time.
Yeah.
This is actually pretty fun. I enjoy this, and I feel like I'm helping people." Um, so I found it a lot more fulfilling than working in spreadsheets all day and doing the corporate grind. So I actually kinda I like to say I put in my 2 weeks, but my boss at the time, who actually now works on our team,
Yeah.
he came to me and said, "Hey, we like the cut of your jib. You have a bright future here, but do you wanna be in retail or real estate?" Because it was apparent that it had taken my focus away from retail. And I said, "Oh, no, thank you so much, thank you. I wanna be in retail." Retail, I wasn't ready to give up the paycheck. Yeah, and shortly thereafter, my focus had not changed, and I think I, like, stepped out away from the desk to take a real estate call or had to leave early for a showing or something, and he just kinda said, "Hey, this is your 2 weeks."
Time to wrap up.
Yeah, you just go home and stay home, and, so it kinda happened for me. Um,
Was there, like, a sense of panic, kind of, like, were you like, "Oh my gosh," or was it just
no, I was writing it out. I mean, I was ready to be done. I think my panic was in telling my parents,
uh
because they had just, foot the bill for, this out-of-state school and tuition and
Mhm.
housing and all this, and they think their son is working somewhere that's stable employment with healthcare and benefits and, all this stuff, and, now I have to tell them I'm doing an eat what you kill sales job. Don't worry, I don't need any money, I'm fine,
Yeah.
but, uh, that took some nerve. It probably took me a couple weeks or maybe a month or
Oh,
2 to,
wow.
like, tell them. Yeah, yeah, so
Dang. Can you tell me, like, what was those, like, first 2 years of your real estate career like? Were you kind of was it more of, like, just you trying to find clients again? Because like, those
yeah.
first 15 were, like, friends, but now it's like, is it friends of friends or
You intuitively, keyed into something that kinda shaped the rest of my career. So, um, I had left my job at Express and thought, "Okay, cool, I'm gonna do this real estate thing full time." I had sold a house to everybody I knew that could afford a home. There was nobody else to sell to. So I went probably 6 months without selling a home. I was just like, which I'd saved plenty of money, it was okay, and I was living there virtually for free because I was renting rooms to friends. But I, was invited to lunch by Tony Thomas, because he was a former retailer
Yeah.
and had kind of watched this no-name kid spike on in numbers and then drop off, and so he invited me to lunch and, uh, wanted to kinda get the story on that, and he made kind of a joke that maybe one day I would give up retail and come work for him, and I'm, like, laughing because 'cause I'm like, "Well, yeah, I already gave up retail, that sounds good, man." And so we went to lunch, and at that lunch, he told me that I should come work for him and that if things went as he thought they might, that I might be buying his business in a couple years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What did you think of that when he was like, "Hey, you might be buying me out?"
I thought he was crazy. I thought he was absolutely nuts. I thought, well, I probably see the merit in working for somebody who can teach me real estate because I had kinda stumbled through it, and I was working with friends, and they were all pretty entry-level price point deals, and, but I didn't know how to prospect and stay in touch with clients. I had no systems and processes. I mean,
Mm,
I didn't know any of that. Uh, so I thought, "Maybe I want a job. I don't know about this buying a business stuff, but I'll take a job, sure."
mhm,
And so I started to go work for them, and Uh, I mean, I can't speak highly enough about them. Anybody who's watching or listening knows the kind of people they are. I mean, just super high integrity,
mm.
big on character, and they really poured into me and invested in me, thinking, of course, that I could buy their business one day, but um, it was definitely a little bit right time, right place sort of thing.
What was the biggest lesson you think you've learned under those, like it was 2 years
Yeah.
that you were under their wing before you bought it out?
Yeah, so I worked with them for probably 7 or 8 years, but we started the buyout after 2 years. Um, Biggest lesson, it sounds cliche, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do it, is really just putting the client's needs first. Like, that was their their guiding principle, and, I saw it play out time and time again, and as simple as that is, I would say that is still a differentiator between us and many of our competitors, just the kinda things that we will do to protect the client and serve the client, um, in the transaction and beyond.
Mhm.
So,
Man, how did you kind of get to that point where you were confident enough to buy out their team? Because you told me,
yeah,
you didn't tell me exact amount, but you told me
sure.
an estimate for what you got it for. How did you
Yeah,
like have the confidence, like, hey, let me, because you're now two
yeah.
years, 3 years into real estate, and then you decide to buy out their team? Well,
Um
again, the process.
They pushed me into it, essentially. Like, I don't
Oh,
know that I did have the confidence. I was really nervous, but, uh, I think for them, when they tapped me, it was, by the guidance of their real estate coach, and, um, it was kind of a, "Hey, look, we are gonna retire. If you're not gonna buy it, we need to go find somebody who is."
mhm,
So, I thought, "Gee, if I wanna keep my job, I better buy the business." So, but it was by that point, I knew them well enough that I felt like I mean, I have a great relationship with my parents, but they're like another set of parents to me, and, um I knew them well enough by that time that I thought if they are pushing this on me, it's because they think this will be good for me. Like, not it wasn't self-serving. I think they really saw this as, for what it was, that it
yeah.
was something that could really transform my life and, that I would be a good steward of the business they had built and, uh, kind of maintain the reputation that they had worked hard to preserve, so
What was, like, your thinking with kind of, like, doing that? Because we were talking about it, it's not very common that people will buy out a real estate group. Maybe a brokerage, yes.
sure.
Like, a brokerage, that's very common, but to go and just buy someone's business where technically it's based off of them, like, it's based off of Kate and Tony, it's not really
Yeah,
based off of you.
right. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's probably and when I give people advice on this, um, that's probably the biggest differentiator. A lot of times people decide, "I wanna be out of real estate," and they go for some kind of quick exit. So they go, "Alright, you know what? At the end of this year, I'm calling it. I'm moving to Florida." And then they strike a deal with somebody else in their market who they have respect for, and they say, "Hey, uh, I've got this 25-year book of business. I'm gonna start referring all my clients to you, and you pay me a referral fee that maybe goes down over the years." Uh, the biggest difference with our arrangement is I worked with Kate and Tony for 7 or 8 years. So I had an opportunity to meet all of their clients, gain their trust, earn their respect. So, our retention remained extremely high, and same thing with our agents. So that was really nice. And again, I can't give enough credit to Tony for kind of the tutelage and mentorship that he gave me. I think they really let me have a pretty long leash. So I hired people. I made mistakes in hires. I did things that they probably could have helped me avoid, but instead they thought, well, he needs to learn that lesson, and better he learns it while we're still here and can help him recover and pivot than when we're, toes in the sand and off doing our own thing. So um, that that is what I encourage everybody who's considering buying any business, but a team. And you see it more commonly with like insurance agents and
Mhm.
and financial advisors where there's like a clawback period, even dental practices where they say, okay, I'm going to buy your dental practice and you will continue to work at it for 3 years. Uh, but in real estate, it's like the, primary person decides they're out and they just leave town and
Yeah.
their business evaporates in like the course of 12 months.
Yeah, I'm okay, so one thing I'm interested in is, like, you're 25 at this time, right?
Mhm.
What was it like, finally being at the helm of this team? It's a top 30 team at this time, right?
Yeah,
And kind of like, how do you gain the respect of the agents who are now work for you?
sure.
Like, how are you able to get respect for them? Like, now they are like, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, this random guy just, like, kind of walked in 2 years and bought the whole entire business out."
So it was they were still there, right? So I wasn't at the helm immediately. I
Mhm.
think once we entered into the buyout arrangement, it was made known to the team that I was, in place to buy it out. And then we had kind of different checkpoints along the way where once I had paid them a certain amount of money or owned a certain percentage of the business, I had additional responsibilities, that came with that. So it was really a pretty gentle handoff. So I didn't have the kind of total command until I was probably closer to 30. And by that time, I had hired most of the people that worked for us,
Yeah.
so there was no surprise that I was the boss. And uh, most of the people that work for me are older than me, and if that was gonna be a problem, we usually sorted that out in the interview well before they started on our team.
Mhm. Yeah. One thing I noticed was a year after you bought it, you sold all of your rental properties. What was the thinking behind
Yeah,
that?
uh, to help me buy faster. So I had started buying rentals when I first got licensed or shortly after getting licensed, and I had accumulated not a tremendous amount, but a portfolio of rentals. And um, Tony was actually he was pressing it. He felt that, again, I needed to choose a lane. One of the beautiful things about real estate is, and you alluded to it earlier when we were kind of chatting before the camera went on. There are so many different ways to be successful in this industry.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who have just made a fortune self-investing, right? They maybe have 5 clients, they don't really work for anybody but themselves, and they buy properties and flip them, or they buy properties and rent them. I know people that, do a great job servicing, the luxury market like we do, or, doing, deer hunting property. I mean, there's so many angles, and so he was kind of like, "Hey, your business here is luxury real estate. Stop fooling with these rentals and get focused on being an expert here and doing this really well because this you can earn a good living in it. And that was probably good redirection for me. The rentals were getting to be, uh, I would call them a pretty good distraction.
Yeah.
So,
How has that changed now? Because you told me that you have now been getting back into real estate
yeah,
investing. How has it changed from
it has kind of gone full circle to some degree. I think the primary difference now is somewhat strategy, I guess. I think when I was buying rentals before, it was uh, for cash flow. So it was like, hey, if I can buy this many rentals, then I can, stop working, which is the greatest fallacy in real estate, because rentals are a ton of work, and the numbers never quite
pan
come out the
out?
same as you pencil it, right? There's always, "Oh, it needed this and it needed that," or "It's vacant longer than you thought," and, "Somebody destroyed this or drove a car through the front." I mean, there's things, right? So, uh, I think now we are investing for long-term, wealth, where before it was the short-term game. It was like, "Okay, well, if I can get this place and own it for 30 years, then it can pay for itself and it may appreciate along the way." Where now it's like, "What can I buy that I think will appreciate significantly in 5 years?" Sort of
Mhm.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested kind of with these years before. So it says that in 2016 you got married, right?
Mhm.
What was it your work-life balance before then and then
Hmm.
after that?
Yeah. Um, I worked all the time. So I was selling real estate in primarily a luxury market with a luxury team at a very early age. And that was unusual, especially for somebody who didn't grow up in the business, right? It wasn't like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're so and so's son. You've been around this your whole life," or "I think I'm kind of getting them under your name," or whatever. Uh, so my shtick was like, "Look, I will not be outworked. It just will not happen." That was my advantage. They may have experience on me, but I've got time on them. I used to tell people that real estate isn't my top priority, it's my only priority. Like, I didn't have anything else. I no kids, no dog, no girlfriend, no I mean, I was at the office 8 AM to 1 AM. I mean, I
Wow.
went home to sleep and shower,
And that
and
was
that
it?
was it. So I was very committed in the early days to, making really as much money as I could. I felt one of the things that attracted me to real estate that made me okay leaving retail was my brief experience in corporate America felt that your compensation was not even loosely tied to your production. It felt like a waiting game. It was who likes you best and how long have you been here because you have to be here for a certain amount of time until you get promoted to this. And then after, so we had some people leave. I took over their departments. I'm managing 2 departments now, staying late, working really hard, and then somebody else catches a promotion because they've been there for a year longer than me. And I just thought, "This is absurd."
Yeah.
Uh, so the thing that I really liked about real estate is nobody told me how much money I could make. It wasn't like, "Oh, well, you're only in your 20s, so you can only make this much." I can go out there and earn more than a doctor. I can earn more than my boss's boss if I want to. I just have to work hard.
Yeah.
And so that was very attractive to me.
Mhm. Was there any, like I should have asked this in the beginning,
Yeah.
but I was interested, like, when you're starting out in selling luxury real estate, like, was there anything like, "Man, maybe I don't belong here?" Like, "I don't know these people like other realtors do."
Yeah. I never really struggled with, like, any sort of imposter syndrome. I think because I grew up in New Albany.
Mhm.
Um, I just they're all regular people, right? Like, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah.
It's never been intimidating to me or, felt out of place. I did feel like I had expert resources at my disposal. So, if I didn't have Kate and Tony to lean on and say, "Hey, this is the challenge that I'm faced with. This is what I think it's worth. What do you think it's worth?" And run things by them, then I likely would have felt that way. But um, Tony was a big promoter of the glorious we, and that helped me a lot as a younger agent. And now I really push it on our agents.
Can you share a little bit of that idea?
Sure. So somebody may say, well, how many homes have you sold in the New Albany Country Club community? Because it's a very, niche market. And at 23 years old, I have sold 0, you know?
Mhm.
But we have sold more homes in the New Albany Country Club than anybody. We, have sold 300 homes in your neighborhood. We are the experts. So it was like, just, you know, hitch your cart to us. That's what you're getting with the team. I think a lot of people view a team may I think this is changing some now, and I'm glad to see it, but for a long time, the idea behind a team was, well, you give up some of your split, but you get leads.
Yeah.
And I've never really pitched our value proposition that way. I think with us, you're getting a certain amount of credibility, and that should go a lot further. If you're dependent on leads, I don't know that we really want you on our team. We're interested in people who already have the natural ability to connect with people, earn their trust, network, do all of that. Um, I'm there to give you a master's in this business.
Mhm. What do you look for when you're trying to hire a realtor? Is it
Oh,
have you ever, like, been like, "Hey, maybe it's" has it ever had to do with who they know, or is it just straight up, like, hustle?
yeah, it's both. If I'm being totally honest, but it's mostly hustle. If I think you meet our kind of character standards, right? Like, I think you're a person of integrity and will represent our brand well. I don't actually care how much you sell. It's not like, okay, well, if you're not selling this much, then you don't have a place on our team. I'm more concerned with somebody who like genuinely buys into our values and then is willing to work, right? If you are missing one of those 2 things, I don't think I can teach it to you. Like, if
Mhm,
you just don't have that innate drive to go get it and want to be the best and all of that, or if you don't have that kind of character within you, that guiding principle, then probably not gonna be a good fit. If you've got those 2 things and you seem interested, then I'll give it a shot.
mhm,
Yeah.
makes sense, yeah. One thing I really liked that you
Mhm.
mentioned is that you talked about the power of we, and I think that's a really good way also for the development of the team, so that there's people that aren't trying to stand out by themselves, where they're like, "Oh, where I have done this," but when they say, "Oh, it's like it's we
Sure.
as a group have done it," then they won't be trying to like compete with each other as much as trying to promote your group.
And
Your
that's
team.
very much what we're on. I mean, that is the, uh really the aura of our office. I mean, that's the vibe is, we're happy when one of our agents lands a big listing, even though the other agents on the team will not necessarily see a direct financial benefit from that. You're happy because they get cred for that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so and so just landed this monster listing and now we get to share it. We get to show that people trusted us with this property and we delivered, so it very much is um, anybody's win is our win.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it taking the group from a top 30 to a top 3? What it had to change kind of to actually make that possible?
Hmm. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny the uh the way that came about. I think it probably I hesitate to say this because it's true, but it hurts to say. Um, Kate and Tony leaving entirely was probably the best thing that helped us elevate. When they were still involved in the business after I bought it, it was still a who's in charge kind of thing.
Mm,
So a question might get asked at meeting. I own the business entirely, all of that. I go to answer it, and then Tony chimes in and goes, "Well, we've always done this." And it's like, "Well, but we don't do it that way now," or "I disagree with that. I'd like to do it this other way." So when they were still there, we were doing a lot of the same things for the reason that we always did it, kind of thing.
yeah.
And when they stepped away, it gave me the freedom to kind of run things my own way. Probably the biggest shift there was empowering our agents to do more.
Mm,
The conventional team model is the team leader is primarily in charge of listings, and then the agents work the buyer leads because a really good agent with the proper systems and appropriate staff can manage 200 listings, but they could never hope to manage 200 buyers.
mm,
So buyers take a little bit more time, require a little bit more hand-holding and all of that. So that's the traditional team model, and I think under Kate and Tony, that was the idea that we're the listing people and you're buyer agents. I had a different vision. I felt like, the way to win is to build silos of business around each of our agents. And how do we encourage that? How do we get our agents really comfortable taking their own listings? How do we, get them to cultivate their own leads? How do we empower them to build businesses kind of under our umbrella? Like, what tools can we give them to do that? So we kind of had like a shift that occurred. After their departure, that probably led to our growth.
How did you come to that conclusion of where agents should be able to go and
So,
be on their own kind of?
yeah, I think it happened naturally for me, and because I knew that's how I grew my business, I thought that's how everybody else should grow theirs. So let me explain.
Yeah.
Um, I had the privilege I purchased the privilege of taking on some of the listing leads and working more with listings as a younger agent that otherwise would have been relegated to chasing down buyer leads. And because I was supposed to be groomed to be this powerhouse listing agent that could run a team.
Yeah.
Um, in doing that, I realized a pretty significant bump in my business. And um, I thought if we could do that for all of our agents, they could all see the same growth. So it wasn't that we did it thinking this will make us a top 3 team. Did it thinking this will help all of my agents earn more money, and, that's what they're here for, to provide for their families, to give their, you know, families, certain things and all of that, and so, um that was kind of what led to that, and then when they all started growing their business at the same time,
Yeah.
collectively, the we grew, and
Yeah.
we kinda became a top team.
And it's kind of amazing on your part as well, because for you, I mean, it helps you, but primarily you're focused on their well-being, your teams, and that's the same way you approach your clients. And when you take
Yeah,
care of your clients, you're taking care of your team, and suddenly they're taking care of you as well.
Things kind of fall into place that way. I think I watched that with Kate and Tony. They time and time again put the client's need before their own. They left money on the table, sometimes a lot of money, um, to protect the client or to serve the client, and people really trusted them in that regard. They referred people to them like that. That one time that they did that led to so many other deals, right? And you could see the benefit of that even if that wasn't your guiding principle, right? It's just good business. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, same thing with our agents, and once that started to happen, um, it was like, "Okay, pull the thread fast now," right?
Yeah.
You got a little piece of it, and you're like, "Oh, this is
This
this
working.
is cool, I don't mind this."
Success.
Yeah, yeah, this is working really well. I think the mentality amongst most team leaders is, okay, if you manage the listing, then you can retain more of the compensation off of that. Listings are expensive, so if you have an agent go out there and handle a listing and then you're only taking a split, you aren't asking them to cover any of the cost of the listing,
Mm.
right? So it's a lousy deal for you. But I subscribe to this idea of a quicker turn. So this is how Able Roof grew their uh, business to become at one time. I don't know if they still are the largest roofing company in the nation. Um, was they were speeding up their sales pipeline. So I think conventional sales models say, okay, here's your bucket of leads, call them all, and then the ones who say no, call them again, and then call them again. And if you call somebody 8 to 10 times, eventually they'll work with you and all that.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Nobody has the discipline to stay with something 7 to 8 times in our business when you get pulled away by the uh the chance or possibility of a deal that could actually pay.
Mhm.
There's just something more pressing, always on the horizon. Um, so I felt like if I didn't do it as a team leader, I can't be like, okay, go in there and call your leads and track all your stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I had this realization that I don't have to follow up with them if I just sell them.
Okay.
So, it was like I don't have to buying a home doesn't have to take 3 or 4 months.
Mhm.
When they come to me and say they wanna buy a home, I could sell a home that week, and then I don't have to follow up with them. They're done, and I can move on to the next one. And it ended up that was probably pretty good for the client too, because home prices are climbing so quickly. If you let them sit in the market for 6 months, the ground moves under their feet and their budget kinda shifts. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's more of that's a very interesting thought kind of your system for sales kind of with because like I hear it preached all the time like it's all follow up, it's all follow up. How did you
Our follow-up is not good.
like learn the sales or like how do you
Yeah.
approach it in a way of like, hey, as soon as I get a call with these guys, they're buying a house,
Yeah.
or else I'm not. Or is it what like
So
actually just go on with that?
well, no, that's a really good question. I've always naturally been a salesperson. I mean, it's laughed about now by, like, my parents' neighbors and stuff that I'm in sales because 'cause they're like, "Well, yeah, we knew that when he was 7 years old knocking on our door to sell us popcorn." They go, "Yeah, I'll take a box," and you go, "Well, why don't you take 3 and then you can give them away for Christmas too," or so I was
Yeah,
all that just naturally came to me. So, I mean, when I was a little kid in Cub Scouts, I sold more popcorn than I mean, I filled up, like, a bay of my parents' garage with popcorn. I mean, I just canvassed the pavement, I mean, everybody, and, I just loved it, and, I think my philosophy on speeding up the sales cycle came from a book that I read, and, the book is called Be Bold and Win the Sale. I do not recommend reading it. I will give you the high point right now.
okay.
Um, there was a chapter in the book where they talked about how a lot of salespeople are afraid of being bold. They don't wanna be pushy, right? There's no lower rung on the ladder than a pushy salesperson. I mean, that just sounds, ugh,
Yeah.
that is right down there with the worst of them. Oh, those pushy salespeople, that's awful. Um, and so I think a lot of people are, like, guarded by that. They don't wanna be pushy. And I see this with agents all the time that I'm co-oping with, and I'm just thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, you need to help your client here, and you need to be pushy." And so the what the book talks about is you're at a bus stop and, um, you see somebody walk up next to you. They got their beats on, they're totally into their music. They're looking on their phone, and the bus stop's getting crowded. They kinda step off the curb, and you see a bus just barreling at them.
Mhm.
You don't, like, go, "Well, they're an adult. They'll figure it out."
They'll come to the
They know what they're
conclusion
doing.
and yeah.
Or you don't, like, excuse me, sir," like, and, try to pull their headphone off, "You might wanna move, that bus is about to flatten you like a pancake." You grab them by their back and rip them off the curb before they get smashed into by a bus.
Yeah.
Would you, in any other setting, grab somebody by their shirt and pull them backwards?
Probably not.
No, because you would think that person's a jerk. Like, if you just made a habit of grabbing people by the back of their shirt and pulling them back, you're probably gonna find yourself, like, on the wrong end of some fists. Like,
Mhm.
you're gonna like,
Yeah.
that's a rude thing to do. It's not a behavior that you would expect to model. But if you're doing it with the right intention, it can actually be very noble, and it can be, something that is applauded, really, not looked down upon.
Yeah.
And that's the whole gist of this is if somebody comes to you and they're ready to buy a house and you believe it's in their best interest to buy a house sooner because the cost of housing is going up and they're going to be able to buy less house if they wait 6 months,
Yeah.
then you're serving your client by telling them, "Hey, this is a good deal. I know you just started looking, but I think you could look for 6 months and not find something this good for this price again. I think you should put an offer in."
Yeah. Huh. How do you balance with maybe it's not the right time for someone to buy a house?
Yeah, so I mean, if they don't I don't argue with them, right?
Mm.
I just tell them what I think. If they push back or resist, then okay, it's not for you, right? I will sometimes explain my point of view. Hey, look, if it doesn't feel like the right time for you to buy a home, that's totally fine. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't educate you and let you know that this home is going to be $50,000 more in 6 months.
Mhm.
So, your decision, you'll get no pressure from me. I just want you to understand the landscape because that's what you came to me for as the expert. So that's been really our it goes back to kind of that guiding principle is if you th- if what you're doing is in the best interest of the client or you think it's in the best interest of the client, you're never going to get in trouble with me. And I tell all of our agents that, all of our staff that, if you do something because you think you're helping them, even if it doesn't go well,
Mhm.
like kinda if your heart was in the right place,
Yeah.
we're good kinda thing.
Huh.
So, yeah.
How do you balance that with agents, kind of like making sure, hey, like your heart's in the right place, but like it's also like you can't be or is there never gonna be like a case where they try to help out the client and they could be hurting the business and you in general? Or has it always you've seen it's a net
Um,
positive at the end?
yeah, I'm way more concerned with helping the client.
Mhm.
So, like, we've had clients who, buy a home, and then, I could think of one particular deal where somebody purchased a home, for, their parent, and sadly, the parent had some really serious health concerns shortly after purchasing it and was never able to move into that home. So they decided to sell the home. We said, hey, like, we're going to sell this for free.
Mhm.
Like, it's just the right
Yeah.
thing to do. You bought it a month ago. Um, yeah, that hurt the business, if you could call it that. I would argue it helped it because, um, it hurt the P&L, right? Like, we had expenses going in and no income, right? But I think it was the right thing to do, and hopefully that person, shared with their friends, their family, their coworkers that we did them this great solid and kind of put their interests first.
Mm.
So,
I wanted to go back to a little bit of your sales process just because it's so unique,
mhm.
and I'm interested. So you were talking about how your follow-up system isn't so great. How do you stay kind of like, "Hey, like, when these guys eventually need a home, like, they'll think of me." Is it more of just with that service, or is it how do you make
Yeah.
sure?
Um, I don't. It's probably I don't know.
Really?
To say I have poor follow-up would be a lie. To say I have no follow-up would be pretty accurate.
Oh
I
my gosh.
don't. It is I think that if you really know your stuff, you're good at what you do, you can probably prove that to them in a short amount of time.
Mhm,
And once they know that, if they wanna work with you, great. If they don't, there's a dozen other people out there who do. So, you don't need to waste your time trying to convince the one person that isn't sure or who's looking for somebody who's gonna, cut them this special deal or do what
yeah,
there are plenty of other people out there that can serve that person, that client. That isn't for us, right?
mhm,
Most of our clients become friends, so it is better for them and better for me if we want to work together. I always tell people, look, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm going to be in the business for another 20, 30 years.
mhm,
When you're ready, I'll be ready. Like, you got my number. I'm not gonna blow you up kinda thing. I remember I used to tell people at open houses, "It's okay. You can give me your real phone number. You can give me your real email. I'm not gonna,
spam you,
put you."
right?
Yeah, yeah, and it was true because, yeah, we had drip campaigns set up. I could have easily done it, and every business coach in the country would have told me to.
Mm,
Uh, but I was too I don't wanna say lazy because I was working really hard. I was preoccupied by the deals I could work now over putting leads into a CRM. I just thought that is what pays the bills is finding houses for people, helping people sell homes, doing all that. I think too many agents and I would say business coaches here, um, they push agents to do the wrong things, in my opinion. We all have the same amount of time in the day. I don't
mhm,
care, what person you subscribe to who talks about how they get up at 5 a.m. and do their deep work at this time and box out their calendar and time block and all. No, everybody has 24 hours in a day. That is just totally nonsense. You have to choose how you want to use that time. I choose to use that time selling.
mm,
Period. End of story. That's my focus. I find too many agents spend their time entering information into CRMs and follow-up systems and all this stuff and following up with these people who are never going to do anything with them when they could be following up on the 10 showings they had on their listings. But they never call them ever,
mhm. Yeah.
because
They're scared of
the
being
show
pushy.
well, yeah, and they don't think to do it. But if we have a property that's not selling, I'm on the phone talking to every agent that, is has shown it. Why didn't your client buy it? What would it take to get them to buy it? All those things, and then calling my client and saying, "Hey, this person said they'll buy it if you do this. Let's
Mhm,
put a deal together. Let's sell this thing today." So I just yeah. I've got something that I preach with our team. Um, I don't have office hours for people. Like, I don't care if you're in the office for 1 hour a day or 10 hours a day. I wanna see your numbers doing well. I wanna see you being successful and, all of that. Um, but my thing is try to sell a property a day.
mhm,
If you try to sell a property a day, you'll sell one a week, and if you sell one a week, you'll be more successful than 95% of the agents.
Probably like 99 to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you sell 50 properties a year, you will be in the top 1%, and we have a bunch of top 1 percenters on our team. I mean, we're a third the size of everybody else in the top 10. I mean, we are a very
Very boutique
lean,
kind of.
mean fighting machine, um, but that's kind of what we're all about is high volume.
So it's more of focusing on clients that are actually gonna do something, and like not wasting time on people that like maybe they will do it, but
Right.
most likely not.
Yeah.
And if anything, you guys have that service, that reputation in New Albany, around Columbus, where it's like if they do want to, they will go to you anyways.
When they're ready, hopefully they think we're the most competent person to assist them. Like, that's what I tell everybody, when we sign any kind of contract or whatever. It's like, "Look, I'm getting this listing agreement signed because the Ohio Division of Real Estate wants me to get it signed. Like, I've gotta do it to stay out of trouble.
Mhm,
But I'm not getting it signed so you feel like you have to work with me.
mhm,
You should work with me because you think I'm the best person to help you and that I'm representing your best interest, not because of a contract, you know? And so that's like very much our philosophy. So if you want to work with me and you think I'm really the best person to help you, I'm here. I answer my phone always. Just ask my wife. So I'll be ready when you're ready kind of thing.
yeah. Have you ever had, like, maybe, like, a little of a panic feeling, like, maybe, "Okay, maybe I need to, like, start going after these people," or has it always been, like, you have a very I don't know how to say it. You're, like, the first realtor where I've kinda had on where it's
Yeah.
no follow-up, it's just when they're ready, you're ready, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Go find somebody who's ready to do something. Yeah, I think people don't spend enough time selling
Mhm,
is the big deal, and I won't leave my office. I don't even on my days off, I try to sell a property a day,
mhm.
and so you don't always connect, but, and that's just a pitch. That's you know, "Hey, I don't know if you'd consider moving, but, this seems like a pretty cool house. If you wanna check it out later, let me know."
Mhm.
Just a
Something as
pitch.
simple as that.
Just yeah, yeah, just kinda throwing things out there. Or, you know, we'll get, a lead. I mean, gosh, I sell property. I've sold property in Medina, I mean, all over, and people are like, "Why are you doing" "You're going out to all these far out places to sell a property. It's not your market or it's not whatever, or your price point should be" there's this mentality that, "Oh, my price, I don't touch anything over this certain price." Whatever. I
Yeah.
think, if you can sell a property in less than a day's work, that's pretty good compensation. I don't care how you chop it up. That is, the most high-powered, high-billing attorney in New York doesn't make that much an hour if you can sell even
1
an
hour.
inexpensive property in a day's work, So sometimes we'll get these low-level deals in that some people may not even enter into the CRM to follow up with, and my encouragement to my agents is, see if you can sell it,
Mhm.
Spend a day on it. If you spend a day and you can't sell it, then move on. But I'd rather see them spend time trying to sell something than spend time following up with people. I think that is the silliest thing that
Yeah.
everybody else does. It just, yeah, it blows me away.
One thing you brought up is, that I found a really interesting thought
Mm.
I've been thinking about is kind of with real estate agents do a lot, but not selling. And, like, I wanted your opinion on, like, networking events,
Yeah,
because 'cause I've been to a lot kind of as working in this job, but I've not seen you I think I might have seen you one time.
yeah.
And I'm just interested, like, what you think about those.
It's not I love networking and meeting people. It's probably one of the things I love most about this job is you get to meet all these people and learn about their work and their families and their lives. But I'm interested in selling. So if I'm networking, It's probably not gonna be with a room full of realtors. It's just not
Makes sense.
I like realtors, some of them, we'd probably be pretty good friends, but I'm not gonna sell anything to a realtor. I'm not gonna provide any, so, I'd none not to knock it, I think there's merit. I've got the advantage of now having, close to 15 years under my belt, so I know a lot of the agents. I don't have to, like, go out there and meet them.
Mm,
If I moved to a new market tomorrow and had to, uh, kind of establish myself in a new market, I could see some merit to getting to know other agents on a more personal level. But yeah, I've spent my time trying to do the deal
mhm.
'cause
Yeah, makes sense. It's just
yeah,
focused on
it's
selling.
very simple. And I feel like a lot of people complicate it too. And I think a lot of people get into real estate, um, uh, for reasons other than they enjoy selling or what, I mean, I think,
People see the glamour kind of. They see, like, the fun, but at the end,
yeah,
it's selling. Like,
sure. I think some people enjoy the relationship piece, and I definitely enjoy the relationship piece. I enjoy the relationship with my clients. Um, but to each their own, right? Like if some people that is their perfect thing. They like making friends with other realtors who can relate to their struggles and their challenges and um, meeting all these lenders who have yeah, it just isn't my thing. I'd rather be out there doing a deal.
mhm. Can you tell me a little bit about Candace Hall?
Yeah, Candace is a beast. She does everything that I just talked about. Yeah, Candace was first a client for me. I helped Candace buy a home in New Albany many years before we joined forces, and she was working in corporate healthcare.
Mm,
I later came to find out that she felt many of the same frustrations that I had felt in real estate, or I mean, in retail,
yeah,
prior to going into real estate. And she approached me about getting her real estate license. And this is not uncommon. I have, and I'm sure every realtor uh, has people reach out to them all the time about, hey, I'm thinking about getting into real estate.
yes.
What do you think about that? So I always take the meeting or jump on the call with them. Um, and I just try to be really honest with them. I try to explain to them what it takes to be where they probably want to be in the way of earning. Uh, the challenge that you have getting started in the business, right? All of that. But in speaking to Candace, so when I first sat down with Candace, I thought Candace is really bright. She's a cool person. I didn't know how good she could be until we met. And then she was looking to get licensed. I advised her to get licensed. I don't always tell people to get licensed and come work for me right out of the gates.
Yeah.
I would much rather see someone get licensed, get a deal or two under their belt, make sure this is something that they can stomach. Um, and then if they like it, going back to my value proposition thing, if they think that I'm the best person to guide them, mentor them, help them grow their business, then come to me. I'm never really worried about losing somebody that could be a great agent
Yeah.
by sending them elsewhere to get licensed. If I think they're going to be a great agent, um, and they think that I can help them do that, then they'll come back. So she got licensed, and after a little while, we kind of sat down and decided it would be a good idea for her to join our team. And she was a very quick study. I mean, she was everything that I said, I think seemed to click with her in terms of, speeding up the sales cycle. Doesn't have to take 5 months to sell somebody a home, all these things really resonated with her. And then she put her own twist on it. Again, I love to sell. That is my, like normal behavior. My wife is always like, "Don't sell me on this," like, but that's just how I talk, that's how I think. Um, Candace has done a great job on social media where I never did, right? It just was never an area that I thought I would invest a lot of time. Um, so I think that really helped her to gain some notoriety early on, and then she was, you know, capable and had our kind of glorious we behind her, and that's a dangerous combination.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about social media? Because I've seen it,
Mhm.
you're very little on it, like,
Yeah.
barely at all.
Um, I th it's worked really well for some people, you know?
Yeah.
Social media in general, I think people spend, like, entirely too much time on.
Mhm.
It's just my, read on it. Uh, I'm much more experiential. I'd rather, be grabbing drinks with somebody than, like, scrolling on their feed, I guess. Like, I would
Yeah.
rather be actually hanging out with somebody or actually doing something than sitting around looking at my phone. Um, and so I've never really done a lot in the way of posting on it. I mean, my office will post some things for me, just so I'm not a total ghost, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just interested, like, with, like, the future with social media and real estate, kind of with you,
Yeah.
because with you, it's, like, you're very different from a lot of agents that I've met. That's
Yeah.
why I'm, like, interested, like, kind of
Mhm.
your perspective on it.
Yeah. I think honestly, it wasn't something that I started out discounting. It was just something I never got to in the day. So my hierarchy of priorities was sell a home, sell a home, sell a home, I'm out of the day. Like, there was no time left. So, it was just I would get to the end of the day and didn't get anything posted that day. So, I mean, there were times in my career where I thought, "Okay, I need to do a better job with social media. I'm leaving, something on the table there," right?
Yeah.
Um, but it was never a priority for me, and at a certain point, I'd had success doing it my way and decided I don't have to make it a priority now.
Yeah.
Um, I think Candace I say everybody has the same 24 hours, but Candace finds a lot of time. She is a v she's hustling and grinding very hard. I think, if you only knew Candace from her social media, you probably would not understand how hard that person works.
Mhm.
She is fully committed very much the way I was when I got into the business. Um, and she makes the time to do it because she knows the benefit. So I think that's an area where we complement each other very well as partners.
Mm.
Because I had come to the conclusion that I just really was never going to win on social media.
Yeah. Huh. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell me a little bit more of how you got back into real estate investing to
Yeah.
you there's something that you pointed out to me before we got started
Mhm.
where I said you developed 2 neighborhoods. Can you
Yeah.
tell me about that?
Sure. I have a passion for land. I've always been fascinated with land. I think we were talking a little bit before. You really enjoy the outdoors and the mountains, and that is me as well. I would much rather go hike the Rockies than sit at a beautiful beach. Sitting at a beautiful beach is closest thing to torture for me. I just can't do it. Um, so I really enjoy land. I think property is cool. Um, I got into developing neighborhoods because I had an interest in land, and somebody trusted me at a very early age, early in my career, to help them sell a large parcel. I mentioned to them that I thought they could get more if they sold it in smaller parcels, and we chopped it up. They kind of we joked about this, baited me into that. "Oh, well, is that something you could help me with? I'm not really sure how I'd go about it." And I was, "Sure." And so I learned a lot. Um, I think, they got a great deal because I didn't charge them appropriately for it, but, I got a lot of education helping them split that land up and selling those parcels. And um, one, I saw the client, sell a piece of property for more than double what it was worth as a single parcel. And two, I saw the benefit to our team because we we now were getting leads for a lot of people who were wanting to build homes. Those people had to sell homes, and that was pretty cool for our agents, where before, if we were just selling a 60 or 80 acre tract of land, uh, you're not really cultivating any new business from that. Um, so I did it the one time, it worked really well. And then kind of fortuitously, uh, a past client of mine had inherited some money, and they contacted me about investing that money, and they wanted to build apartments. And I kinda laughed to myself because I know how hard that is. I mean, there are national developers that can't successfully do that in Columbus.
Yeah,
This is
it's tough.
probably the hardest market to develop high density housing in, maybe in the country. And so I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. Do you have any experience doing that?" "No." Do you have a contractor maybe that is, gonna do that for you?" "No." "Have you ever done anything have you even built a house before?" "No." "Okay, let's take a step back." So I shared with them, uh, the success that my client had had by or they already owned the property, but splitting up a large parcel of land into smaller parcels, and suggested to them that we maybe give that a shot. So we did that with another property. I identified a property that I thought we could do that successfully with. They did. They followed my guidance on it, and we did 2 phases there, and it turned out really well. And then we did another one, and then we brought some partners together, and we're doing another one. And that has been really fun to see things take shape. It doesn't happen fast, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it if it was my main thing, but as, like, a kinda cool side project, it's really fun.
How do you deal with the compliance with all of the restrictions that Central Ohio?
Mhm.
Because I've heard that where it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really difficult to get things started, especially that like buying farmland and then like splitting it up and then like to
Mm.
do all of that.
Um, a big part of that is in site selection, right? It's doing the due diligence up front. Like a lot of things, you make your money on the buy kinda thing, so it's finding the right piece of property that you, um, know the rules of the game. So, uh, Harlem Township is where we've done a couple of them in Delaware County, and they've got a 197 page, uh, zoning resolution that I don't know front to back, but I know really well. That, I mean, was a copy printed on my desk, a copy at home, a copy in the car. I looked at that all the time. Do a project that can be compliant. So I don't tend to select sites that I think we need to get a lot of things to go our way to make it work. I lean more towards this site will work, and we can do it in a very simple way. Maybe we don't make quite as much money on it, but it's easy and we can do it multiple times. So, yeah.
How do you balance that with kind of your role as owning this team
Mhm.
and running that, making sure that's still functioning properly? You guys are
Yeah.
still performing at a high level, and then like these side ventures now.
It's probably because I don't do social media or go to events, you know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
again, we all have the same 24 hours. The time that I'm not selling or spending with family, I'm doing those things that you just mentioned, working with the team, or kind of working on these side projects or personal investment projects like that, yeah.
Mhm. It was just more like I was interested, has Candace kind of, like is now she kind of, like, taking over some of the roles that now you were used to doing?
Um,
Or is it more of like she's selling at her capacity, you're selling at your capacity?
yeah, so I think the thought process there was that Candace could absolutely, um, step into the role of kind of lead sales agent, right? And that would free me up to handle more of the managerial tasks that come with a growing team, right? Evaluating our systems and processes and dealing with, accountants and attorneys and everything else that comes with owning a business. Um, so yeah, I think Candace is doing a great job on the sales side and serving the client's needs and every bit as well, and in some cases better than I can. That kind of has allowed me to spend more time on these personal projects and kind of sharpening things up with the team.
Is there do you see any possibility maybe in the future it'll be like a handoff to her like it was to you, or is that for right now
Yeah.
you're still with your team?
Uh, I think, anything's possible. Candace and I are both relatively young in our industry, so, um, I don't think either one of us totally know yet even where we wanna be in 20 or 30 years. Um, but yeah, we've certainly talked about it. I think she will, continue to take a bigger and bigger role, and, you know, when I'm ready to hang it up, if she's not also ready to hang it up, then, she would certainly be the sensible person, to go to there. Um, I think, you know, it's interesting because Candace and I both have kids, and we've talked about it, what are our kids gonna be interested in? And we just don't know yet, right? Kate and Tony, the people that I bought the business from, had 2 kids. I think they imagined, at least at one time, that one of them could have some interest in real estate and may want to get involved in the business, and then they didn't, you know? So probably too soon to say there, but, uh, in terms of my trusting Candace and her aptitude and ability, she would certainly be capable.
Mhm. What does the future look like for you? Kind of
Yeah,
with is it more on the development side? Is it staying focused on the real estate, or do you have other ventures that you wanna get into?
sure. I think the development is kind of a personal hobby, that happens to coincide with real estate sales. But for us, we're really interested in continuing to support our agents and help them grow really sustainable businesses. I think a lot of teams have been struggling, ones that were propped up on these like online leads that they were purchasing. Um, that's the return on that is really diminished. We saw the writing on the wall there years ago. Um, and I think I had the unique position of being a sales agent on a team and then running a team. So I knew how lousy the leads were, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't that my agents weren't good at converting them, they were just horrible leads. And so where everybody else, I think, kept buying all these leads because they thought, well, the agents just need to do more to convert them, I didn't see it that way. So, you know, we don't have any kind of growth goal or anything like that. Like I want to double our staff in 5 years or anything like that. What we're interested in is bringing really good people on and developing kind of top talent. So, uh, in some years that means we hire 2 people, and some years that means we don't hire anybody if nobody really meets that criteria. But I imagine in the next 5 years, we'll continue to grow the team a little bit and develop some new agents, and continue to help our existing agents grow their book. And um, my wife and I, we've kind of gotten back into uh, personal investment in real estate. So um, I imagine we'll continue with that. Uh, and we'll see. I heard some great advice once that from somebody I respect a lot. His name is Rick Rubin. He is a
Mhm.
team leader at he's a Keller Williams team leader in Milwaukee. Runs a really nice business, and he told me as a realtor you should buy a property once a year. That that is um, if you do that, you will be kind of set when you are ready to stop working as hard. And that's something that I encourage our agents to do. That's something that we try to do. Um, so yeah,
Mm. What would you say to agents beginning in real estate? Like you as a 22-year-old, 18-year-old, people have kind of quit their jobs and they're like, "Hey, maybe I want to get into luxury real estate." 'Cause
yeah,
everyone looks at that and it's like that's the pinnacle. That's it.
sure, yeah,
What is your recommendation to those people? Or what's like your warning to those people,
yeah.
you could
No,
say?
I mean, I remember, I remember when I was young, I shared that I worked for some people that owned real estate and that planted a seed, even as like a high schooler, that I may want to own real estate one day. Um, and this one guy, I mean, I felt like I was just always working at different properties for him. I thought, how much property does this guy own? I mean, this is incredible. Uh, and I still know him. Yeah, I told him I wanted to get into real estate. He's like, "Oh, no, 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 you don't wanna do that, it's really hard and this and that and all that," and I'm thinking, "Well, I mean, I don't know, I think I can handle it." So I wouldn't really discourage anybody from doing it. If you wanna try to do it, do it. Um, I think the advice that I give to everybody is if you're gonna get into real estate, you need to have a year's nest egg put away. You need to, if you're still young enough that might be living with parents or um, maybe you're married and your significant other or spouse can kind of bear the financial burden for the family. Um, but it's not gonna happen overnight, right? So, that's probably the biggest thing that I think holds people back from even trying, is I'll sit down with somebody who's a little bit developed in their career, and now they're trying to leave a six-figure income to get into real estate, and I just explained to them that they aren't gonna make six figures for a while, you know?
Mm,
Um, and that's typically enough of a deterrent that they just never try. Um, but I think the first piece of advice I give is you need to have a really solid nest egg or a way to live without making money for at least a year because getting started in this business is rough. The second piece of advice I give is focus on training, not commission or split. It's all about finding the right person, the right group to educate you on how to be a successful agent, not who's going to offer you the most attractive split or terms where you get to cap. I mean, some of these uh, arrangements are just ridiculously complicated. Well, in your
yeah,
first year, your split is this, and then your second year, you can cap if you do this. But if you stand on your left foot and you only sell on, the
Tuesday.
weekend, then you can do this. And I've never subscribed to any of that. I think it's if you find a group or a person or team or brokerage, whatever, that can give you really good training, can show you how to, be successful in this business. That should be your focus, 100%. You can make a lot of money selling homes at a so-so split. Um, more so than I think you can sell a couple, if you stumble into a couple deals on a high split. So you need to figure out what you're doing. Get good training, and then probably the last thing, and you'd be surprised how few people do it, is try to sell 1 home a day. Just
Hmm,
if that is your, it's like
it's that
brushing your
simple.
teeth in the morning. Like, you would just never even dream of leaving your house without doing that. Like, I cannot imagine doing anything else in a day before I try to do that. Uh, so if you do that, you'll probably be pretty darn successful.
Mhm. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your personal life? How do you balance all of it with these developments,
Yeah.
the team?
Sure. I think, first of all, I've got a great team behind me, right? Like, we have amazing administrative support, marketing, uh, all of that. That helps a lot. I think, again, because I was in a position buying Kate and Tony out, that I had to sell a lot of real estate to be able to afford that. Um, I figured out how to do it, and like, what things I had to be involved with and what things I could delegate. Um, and then I would say, having really, really solid agents under us or working with us, um, is key to that work-life balance, right? Our kind of like litmus test for if you should be on our team is, would I trust my best client with you? So I'm at my son's baseball game, my best client, not just any client, like the person who buys and sells multiple properties a year with me. I mean, really, a great client
Yeah.
calls me and says, "Hey, I need this." I could call anybody on my team or direct them to anybody on my team, and I know that they will get like the level of service that would satisfy them and me. So I push a lot of things out, and I thought in doing that I would do less business, but it's actually just helped us to do more business, right?
Because more is
Yeah.
possible. I think we'll close with that
Yeah.
because I think if I had one word to describe you, I would honestly say simple.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of real estate agents, they look at the leaderboards. They're like, how do they do that? How do they sell that much? How are they like getting so much in volume? But at
No.
the end of the day, it's so simple. It's literally just sell. It's just to grow a team, just delegate.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, we think about it and it's like some people think it's, oh, it's so complicated. Like we need to do this, we need to do this.
Yeah.
But you provide good service, you do it consistently, you take care of your people, you take care of your customers,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, I think, we do a good job for people, and people know that we get after it and go sell, and I think they want that, and
Mhm.
so it works well for us.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Sure.